welcome back to another Mums and Murder Halloween edition. I hope you are all having a great Halloween break. Some of us are still working, but enjoying our time anyway with the kids as much as possible, but also enjoying our own time. Yes. So we all know what we're at here by now. We're going to sit back, we're going to relax, we're going to grab that little cup of tea, and we are going to enjoy another true crime story. And today's story is the Hamburger Killer. Have you heard of him? Neither had I. His name is Joe Metheny. Now, Joe, he was born on March 1955, and he was one of six children. His dad was an alcoholic and he died in a car accident, and his mother was said to be quite neglectful, quite a hard woman as well. Anyway, Joe would also say that he was moved from home to home quite a bit, like a foster home, but not through the system, if that makes sense. His mother totally denied this. She worked hard. She worked 2 jobs just to keep them going. She was obviously a single mother of 6 children. So she totally denies that, they moved, that other people watched them. Well, obviously other people minded them, so there has to be some sort of truth in that. But his truth and her truth are 2 very separate things, even till now. He had a hard childhood growing up. I think that's basically all we could say about Joe's childhood. But he grew up, he was smart, he was a good student, his grades were great, he was lovely, he was polite, and he went into the army, and he was of 18 years of age. Joe would tell you that he went to Vietnam and fought in the Vietnam War. His mother, however, says that no, actually, yes, although he was in the army and yes, he was transferred out, he did not serve in Vietnam. He served in Germany. So I don't really know why everybody has such conflicting stories, or why anybody's trying to tell anybody else. I don't know, but obviously him and his mother do not get on, and as he was away in the army, communication got less and less with the 2 of them, and eventually, communication just kind of fizzled out. Like many, unfortunately, Joe, when he was away, got addicted to heroin. And unfortunately for Joe, this addiction did follow him home, which is quite sad. So yeah, totally estranged from his mother. He's got a full-blown addiction on the go. That's life at this point for Joe. He comes home and he joins into the homeless community. Obviously it's where he gets his drugs, and he knows them all pretty well. Then he meets this wonderful woman. He also gets a job. She is also, unfortunately, an addict. Yes, true. 2 addicts together, never a good thing. But they were together. They got married. Joe got a job as a truck driver, and they moved into a little trailer. So, things were steady enough. Unfortunately, the 2 of them were still very much addicted to drugs. They had a son who Joe loved very, very much. He did. It's just unfortunate that his addiction got in the way of his parenting. One day after Joe had been working hard, was away trucking, he came home to find that his trailer had been completely emptied, and his wife and child were now missing. Yes, indeed, they were missing, but they had actually just moved. She had left him and she had took their child with them. Joe he just ran back into the homeless community again, into drugs, but still wanted to find his wife and child, especially his child. And one night he was strolling along. Joe had had quite a bit at this point. He met two elderly gentlemen under a bridge that his wife would have frequented in her older days, where he knew she would be from time to time getting her drugs. And so he pushed and pushed at this. You know my wife, and you know where she is, and you're not telling me, and da da da. This was all in his head. These poor men were just trying to get a bit of shelter, doing whatever, and Joe just full on. Well, he attacks them and murders them, and throws their bodies into the river. It's then, there's kind of like a mix in stories here. So it's then said that he heard two women coming, and they were like two women ladies of the night. So two prostitutes were coming along, and I thought, right, he was going to quit. You know my wife, you know where's she's my child. And they were again like, no. Again, this is all in his head. He just thinks everybody is telling him lies at this point. But anyway, some reports say that he murdered them as well, and then other stories, they were never even mentioned. So I'm unsure of this part, but in one story, I'll have to tell you, that he murdered the two women and threw them into a ditch. He then happened to look up, seeing that there was a fisherman who had looked at him. Joe was then now in a panic, thinking, what has this fisherman seen me do? Has he seen me murder all these people? And so he went over and hit him on the back of the head, murdered him, and threw him in the river as well. So, in the space of a couple of hours, there's, he is potentially murdered 5 very innocent people. Joe just doesn't care. He's gone past the point. He's just gone past the point of caring. He just wants to know where his wife and his son are, and he's not getting very much out there. But anyway, so Joe just goes on about his life after murdering these people, as you do, and joins back in the community, was out and about with them all. One of his friends that knew his wife as well had come up to him to let him know that his wife was actually at the other end. I think it's Baltimore they were in. So she was living at the other side. She had left with a man who was now pimping her out for drugs and drug money, and that his son had been taken off her due to neglect, and obviously her drug abuse was getting worse, and she was also prostituting, selling her body. So the son was taken off and put into the care system. Joe was absolutely fuming at his wife, but relieved that his son was somewhere safe and being well looked after. But fuming, I mean, still so angry, so angry at his wife. So, how did Joe get the nickname the Hamburger Killer? Well, let me tell you. Joe then, he got a job, and in the job that he had, he actually lived on site. And he was able to then set up, when he wasn't working for the other guy, set up his own little sandwich stall at the side of the road. And he would be selling hamburgers, pork sandwiches, beef sandwiches, chicken sandwiches, very delicious sandwiches. However, Joe had a little secret ingredient in those sandwiches that I'm sure once people figured this out. Not every time and not all the time, but occasionally Joe would add a little something extra or a little someone extra to his sandwiches. Tasty. So, yeah, Joe took into a stream of killing doing drugs and killing, and he was down for killing any prostitute, anyone that he could get back. He would have lured them to his home with the promise of drugs, as many prostitutes are addicted to the drugs. Drugs, alcohol, anything he could. He promised them that when he got them back in, then he would just murder them and put them in his sandwiches. Yep. And then sell them to drivers by. Unfortunately for Joe, this one particular night, let me just fix my hat, it's in my little scarecrow. He again brought home a lady. He hit her, she went down, and he turned his back for a split second. He thought he had obviously knocked her out, that this is it, that he'd done the job, but she was able to get up, run, and Joe was like, oh, I'm not going to worry about her, there's a 6-foot fence out there, she's going nowhere. And he was just chill about the whole thing. But he forgot. There was pallets stacked up against the fence. She scaled the pallets over the fence and away she went. And Joe just sat there. He knew what was coming. He knew the police were coming. And yeah, he let it happen. Just let the police come. They arrested him. And he was sentenced to death in 2000. In 2000, his sentence was overturned, and he just got consecutive life sentences instead. And in 2017, he was found unresponsive in his cell. I don't think his wife ever heard from him again, or that he ever heard from her again. He did do some interviews which were quite brass, I suppose. Just he's not sorry. He said, "You'll never hear the words 'I'm sorry' from my mouth. My only regrets is not killing his wife and the man that she ran away with. That's his only regret. He doesn't regret anything else. He doesn't regret any other killings. And he won't apologise, or he wouldn't apologise for them. So, all for that girl getting away. You know, he got very cocky of himself. People were buying these sandwiches. They were buying them and eating them. They were full of human. No, I can't cope with that. How would you feel afterwards if this story came out and you knew you had been there? What if you were a regular? What if you loved these sandwiches so much that you went like once a week? What? It just blows my mind. I'm like, what? Who are these people that went there? Who are these people that ate them? I need to know. Did it taste any different? Did you know? Was it off? Was it funny? Gross. No. Just goes to show you, be careful what sort of food you're buying at the side of the street. So that is the story of Joe, the Hamburger Killer. And another little quick one. I hope that you got your 15 minutes of relaxation time and that you enjoyed the story of Joe, and that you come back again to see another Halloween edition.